why did you marry Josh and not me?
I didn't expect that. I don't know.
Elena's question, not mine.
Well, it all started when I first came to America myself.
Eleanor read this for us, but we're going to dare to read it again. Bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry, and he asked me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I said, Sovereign Lord, you alone know.
Well, Jerra, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. For episode 2 of this season, we're going to interview you. Because I went back and I was listening to our very first episode where we were talking about, like your past and some of details about your life. And I just talked way too much.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I feel like I talked for most of that first podcast.
Okay.
So feel free to interrupt me
Okay.
and talk over me.
Well, you probably feel that way. I'm doing it now. But people did listen to that episode where you interviewed me and they were like, oh, I didn't know that about you. Even Pauline said that. So I think you still did a good job. Like nobody said, wow, Joseph talks a lot.
That's good, but just feel free to interrupt me. Okay?
Will do.
Let's just practice it,
You stop talking.
Anyways, yeah. So I wanted to talk about, in that episode we got through some of your life story till you got saved, and we didn't really get past that.
Oh, okay.
Because we ran out of time. But I definitely want to cover that stuff. But I was also wondering, what is your favorite color, and what does that say about you as a person?
So I was trying to think what I said, and did we ask me that?
Not in that episode. There might have been a different episode we did ask you that. So
well, I was thinking,
this is
I was
repeat. Sorry about that, but
yeah, I was thinking I don't want to be a liar like you were when we recently did yours. But I think I am pretty consistent in that. I probably said or will say turquoise. I really like turquoise. Because I think, and I thought about it, what does that say about me? And I think it just means as a child, I was obsessed with mermaids. And turquoise is an adult version of an aquamarine, mermaidy color. So I think that's why I'm partial to it. But I'm also partial to lavender and olive green and some pinks.
yeah.
Yeah,
turquoise is one of those colors that I don't personally like that much. But there's it seems like every single female loves that color.
Of a certain age range, I think.
It goes along with that farmhouse chic vibes.
Yeah, I did like farmhouse for a time.
Like,
I've moved on from that. I've grown.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I've moved on to modern cottage. And the last time I said that, you laughed. That's what I've moved on to, and I think that's the new farmhouse. I am pretty basic. I feel like inside I'm a pretty basic white girl trapped in an African woman's body.
Yeah. I feel like we did talk about the mermaid thing on one of the episodes. I can't remember which one, but you really wanted to be, or you thought you were a mermaid, or you really wanted to be a mermaid?
A little bit of both. I think I desired, there was something in me that realized I was not meant for this earth. I wasn't saved at the time, but I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I belonged in my family, and I didn't feel like I had lots of friends growing up too, but I never felt like I belonged. And I learned about mermaids, and I was convinced they're real, and so I told myself I'm gonna be a mermaid. It's obvious if I don't belong here in my family on land, I'm a mermaid. It was kind of confusing because I didn't really like swimming nor know how to swim. But I figured once I turned into a mermaid, it would work itself out.
Yeah.
And so Disney released the movie The 13th Year. Did you ever see that movie?
That's the title, The 13th Year?
Yeah, I think so.
No.
Yeah, 13th Year, something like that. And it was like a documentary to me. This is a true story.
What happened in the movie?
So this kid is a merman. His mom had him, I think she was in love with a human person. And so when he was born, which I don't know how that works. Don't ask me about the logistics. But when he was born, he had legs. And so she left him on the dock of like human people, and they raised him and never told him he was adopted. Then when he was about to turn 13, a bunch of weird things happened. He always felt like he didn't really belong. And then he was like really in tune with the fish. And I like had a bunch of fish growing up too. Pet fish and stuff. So I was like, oh, that's the same thing here. And then when he turned 13, and he was on the swim team, he was pretty good. I didn't have that going for me, but I figured like, you know, I can't relate to everything. Then he turned 13 and turned into a merman and joined his real family and his real mom and lived in the ocean. Everybody was fine with it. His adopted family was fine with it. Nobody was freaking out. He had a girlfriend. She was like, I'll miss you. And it just all worked out. And I said, that's what I've been missing. I'm going to turn 13 and I'm going to be a mermaid. So I just have to start practicing. So I started drinking salt water. I started walking without moving my legs too much. I started taking more baths because I feel like that's what you got to do. You got to get used to the water. But I was also really scared of turning into a mermaid.
Did you practice swimming?
No.
That
didn't cross my mind.
That would be the thing to do.
That'd be like the first thing. But I was a kid. No one took me to the pool, and I was not willing to die for this dream. And then when I was getting older and it was seeming more unlikely, I settled for being a professional mermaid. But I wasn't planning on being one that like did mermaid stuff like swimming. I was just going to be one that would go to people's houses and sit there in my mermaid costume. And they would give me money. And like that's...
I feel like there's someone out there that is making money doing that.
And they're a genius.
Yeah.
When that became unlikely for me, because like a lot of people are not going to pay for you to come to their house and sit on their porch and get money.
Unless you can do magic tricks.
Well, I didn't think I would be doing that either. I didn't have a lot of prospects. Then I thought, I'll be a marine biologist. And my dad said, well, did you know you'd have to go in the water and like be there for a long time and study sea creatures and stuff? And I just wasn't willing to do that. So I just kind of moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, underwater research stations are really crazy. It's almost like going to the International Space Station or something.
And getting stuck there for 9 months.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Except for you're underwater.
Yeah, and I am claustrophobic. Yeah. So then I got saved and I figured out I felt like I didn't belong here because like I'm in the world but not of it because I belong to Jesus. And there was something missing in my life, in my heart, and that's Jesus, not being a mermaid.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about your time in Africa. So we did talk about it quite a bit in the first podcast. And mostly about like, you know, running away from war and kind of taking care of yourself. I wanted to ask you, like, what were your favorite things about African culture that, like, you grew up those first 7 years that you feel like you miss?
I really enjoyed the food. We ate bug. I think it's bug, but it's like flying termites.
It's like bugs?
It's bugs, but we call it buckaball, but I think it's bug of bugs.
Bug of bug.
Yeah. And it's just flying termites.
Flying termites.
Yeah, so people would catch that and like dry them, and they were delicious. And we would put it in GB soup.
So how did you prepare a flying termite?
So there would be a season, usually after raining season, I think. They would go out with like torches and like put them in the sky or bags, like
at
nets.
night?
Yeah, usually. And they would catch a bunch of them. And then in the morning, they would spread out sheets and put the bugs down, and they would dry in the sun. And they release this oil, and it tastes very nutty. Yeah, and they would usually get the wings off too, the wings and the legs.
Can't termites like not be in the sun?
Why? That's probably why they caught them at night and roasted them in the sun.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
And you can order it like from China. I think Chinese people eat that too.
Chinese people eat it
too.
Yeah. When I was in Costa Rica just recently, and again, feel free to interrupt.
Sure.
we got to see a bunch. There's a lot of like termites there. We got to see a bunch of termite nests. And one thing this nature guide guy that was kind of showing us around this park said is he was explaining that like they don't eat the living wood in the jungle. What they do is they climb up the tree and they make these like, I don't know. To me, they're like subway tunnels of mud up the side of the tree. So that they can go up in the middle of the day when the sun's shining. And they like collect dry wood that's gotten caught up in like the canopy and whatever. And also they can go down to the ground through these tunnels. Anyways, but if you just get them out in the open, then you can eat them. So.
Yeah, well, I don't know why they were flying. They would be flying a lot during the day, and people would catch them. So I really enjoyed the food, the spices and stuff. I really enjoyed just being, I have lots of memories of walking everywhere, like very young, walking by myself. And unless I've like blocked out the trauma maybe that happened to me being a kid walking along, I think I was fine. So.
And what like size of town or village did you live in, or city? Or was
Oh, I did live in a village some. Like, I've slept in the mud house, which I feel like that's very African to, like, sleep in a mud house and then work on a farm. I did that some, too. It really, like, something the size of Whittier, maybe, or, like, Whittier and Springville together is, I think would that be slightly larger than Marion, or, I think it's smaller than Marion,
that'd be a lot smaller than Marion.
Yeah, Whittier and Springville together.
Maybe like Marion 20 years ago.
Yeah. I think that would be about the size, because I remember I would walk from my uncle's house. He had 2 houses. I walked from there to his other house, and then I walked from there to my sister's house, and then I walked from there to my dad's apartment. And I would do all of that and, like, just kind of leave and go places, and nobody was concerned. And so I did that, and I felt like as a kid, I felt more grown up, I guess, because, like, I would be in charge of other children, even though I'm, like, a child myself. And I remember holidays were really special in Liberia when it's Christmas. Your parents gave you outfits and stuff. I don't remember gifts, but you get, like, a new dress and sunglasses and some candy, maybe. And then
sunglasses for all the snow, right?
Yeah, for all the snow
white Christmas
happening in Liberia. And then we would go to other relatives, like uncles and aunts and stuff, and then you would say, my Christmas is on you. And then they would give you money. So it's like Halloween, I guess. You like dress up in nice clothes, and then you ask people for money, and then they usually give it to you. So that was fun. And then I remember too, my uncle would send money to Liberia, and I would be like, I really need Coke, or I need Sprite, or some sort of pop. And bread, and he would send money, and somebody would take me out to eat, and I would, like, as a child, I would never think of giving my child soda, but it was like the glass. I think there's a Coke factory in Liberia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Pauline's mom's husband, her dad, worked there up until when he came to America. So I would go and get like orange Fanta and get just bread that you would pull off and eat, and that was like an amazing snack.
So, like,
like a loaf of bread.
Just bread and Fanta.
Yeah, and I would, like, love that.
You weren't, like, combining the two in any way?
No, I'd, like, pull it apart, I'd eat it, and I'd drink the Fanta, and it was delicious.
With a little side of termites?
No, I wish. And the dried shrimp. And because we were right on, like, off the ocean, there's, like, fresh seafood, and there's, like, just amazing seafood right there, which was amazing. The weather was always, not always because there's a long raining season, but it was pretty nice, and we would go out and play in the rain. I really enjoyed that, and people would play drums and music.
Isn't there a song about that? About rains down in Africa?
Yeah. We weren't dancing to that. That's funny. It does rain down in Africa.
That's good. I'm sure they need it.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you ever wanted to go back to Liberia? Like, visit or...
Yeah, I do want to go back. I feel like Pauline definitely, like, desires to go back more than I do, but I think it's because she has more like close family relations than I do there. But every time I want to go back, I have like a bad dream. Like I recently had one where we went to Liberia, we went to the store, and Josh got a second wife. And I was like, I'm not gonna go to Liberia if you're gonna find a second wife. But yes, we do.
Does that happen a lot? People go to Liberia and find second wives in stores?
Yes. Actually it does. Like that's not something Josh would do, but yes, people go to Liberia and they like start second families.
Yeah.
But yes, we do want to go back. But we keep having children, so that's expensive to bring them. But we would like to go within the next couple years. I think we told Pauline and Johnny we would go with them in like a couple years to visit. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be really awesome. I think like myself, like I don't have any strong connections to different parts of the world, but like if I went to like somewhere where I could trace some of my ancestry back to, I think that would be a really powerful experience for me.
Yeah.
But I don't there's not really a place.
Well, I mean, some parts of Ireland probably.
Probably.
Germany.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And France.
Yeah. So I would like
just
to
random.
go. Just random European places
yeah,
would
you
be
could go
nice.
to and be like, oh, my people.
But
yeah. Recently when I was looking at the pictures from Costa Rica, though, it just reminded me of Liberia and home, just the atmosphere and like just how bright and everything was, and the coconut trees or palm trees. I was just like, my heart was like, whoa. I don't know.
So is it like fairly tropical in Liberia?
Mm-hmm.
Because like when I think of like Africa, I think like arid desert, but that's more like north central. And then
Africa.
The like south central is like Savannah.
Yeah, I'm west, so it's more tropical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like lots of beaches and there are nice things, and then there's just dirty places too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Donald Trump recently revoked $1 million that the U.S. was giving to Liberia, so it's probably gonna be worse there now. But
well, $1 million isn't that much in like.
I mean, it is in
thing.
Liberian money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Poor people.
So I wanted to. This is kind of jumping into the future, but so we kind of ended with you got saved because your mom told you that she believed that she just had to put her trust in Jesus and she would go to heaven, and that made you mad.
Yeah.
And so you went and read the Bible and realized that was true. And that's kind of about as far as we got in your story. Let's see. You were in Iowa at that point in time. Mm-hmm. Had you met Pauline yet?
So Pauline said when we were in Illinois, she had met us.
Okay.
So her and her sister came to visit, and I vaguely remember this. And she had proof that she came because she stole some of my clothes and brought it with her, which is not something that's changed very much. But I vaguely remember 2 little girls came, but that day I was really busy practicing being a mermaid. So I think they were just kind of like
They were in the way.
Yeah, I think that's because I remember they were there and I got them salt water and like I have that memory. But I did meet her in Illinois, and then around the time I got saved, I had already met Pauline. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so what else were you doing around that time? Were you in school?
Yeah. So we had recently moved to Iowa, and I was going to Linmar. And right before we had come to Iowa, I was going to a school called Mundelein High School. And I was doing soccer and cheerleading and like sports and good fun things that you do in high school. And then when we came to Iowa, I was really not happy about the decision. So I didn't, and it was in the middle of the school year too. So I just didn't do any sports or anything. I think I was just going to school and coming home. And then I started to get into theater a little bit, but it was too late for me to do more theater. I'd done more theater at Mundelein. And that was actually the first time I saw Pauline again was at Linmar. I was helping with the contest speech, and I saw her standing with like her friends, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've got to ignore her. Like I recognized her, and I was like, I'm not going to talk to her. I want to ignore her. And so I just like turned my head and walked. But I saw that she saw me and she was whispering about me to like the people she was with. And I walked past her. I was like, ugh. So then I went back and said something, but I really did not want to. And I said, hi, I'm Jerra. I'm your cousin. She's like, I know.
Why was it that you didn't want to say anything?
I really didn't want friends very much. My mom was really pushing that like, oh, she's around your age, should be friends. You know, at that age, you don't want to do the things your parents are suggesting. So I just did not want to. And I had met her mom and Princess, another family friend member. And it was not, like, the experience was not good. I had come from school, and they had been in my room touching my stuff. And they brought their kids with them, and they were loud, and I did not like it. And so I was like, this girl's going to be just like them. She's going to be super African. I don't want anything to do with that.
That's crazy.
And that's why I ignored her. And when I saw her, I felt like she looked African too. And I was like, yeah, she's definitely like them. She's going to go through all my stuff.
Is that a normal thing, African?
Yes. Like, touch your things. And they had gone through my room. I came home and they were like, the kid was wearing my dress, my shirt, and they had made themselves at home. And so I was like, I'm not talking to this girl. She's going to be like them. Which is not a problem. I should be generous.
Did she turn out to be like them? But
yes, she's like her mom.
She's like her mom.
But I accepted it because she had really wonderful qualities as well. But she like, a few days after knowing me, she had my phone. She was taking a bunch of pictures. She liked my phone better. She was definitely wearing my clothes. And then she slept over. I invited her, but like, because I had to. And then she came.
How dare she?
And I was like, oh, you came.
So when did the switch flip from this person's weird and I don't want her to be in my life to like this is my friend and like this is...
Yeah, it happened pretty quickly. It was when she showed up to that sleepover that I was hoping she wouldn't come to. She came and she was so excited. And you know, that's like Pauline. She was so excited. She came over and I was like, oh, okay. And she was just, I loved that she made me feel like she's known me her whole life. Like the thing I was dreading, which was her going through my stuff, touching my things, using my phone, touching me. I didn't want any of that. She did all of those things. But I think it was what I needed at the time. Though I was trying to push her away, and she was really open with me, like oversharing probably. And when she did that, that made me trust her, and then I overshared. And now it's like, well, now that we've done that, we have to be with each other forever. So it was after that sleepover, and then she kept coming, and then I started to come to her.
Why do you think you didn't want that? Like, what was it? What was it in you, like, trying to resist that?
I think it was probably like trauma of like moving a lot and being unhappy. Like we moved schools earlier in Illinois, and at the time my dad had like divorced his first wife, who was the mom I knew, and it was really random. Like we just up and left, and we left my sister there, and it was like, this lady's not your mom anymore. We're just going. And then I had a new mom, and I all of a sudden had a brother. And we were going to the school, and then I was going to go to Stevenson High School. It was like the best school. It was like the Linmar of like where we were,
okay.
But like nicer, like super nice. Well, it's like the Linmar now. And all of my friends were going there, and that's where I expected to go. And I was going to be on their soccer team, and their soccer team was really good. And then we went to Mundelein, which you would think would be really amazing because it was like all Mexicans. Which that sounds racist, but Mexicans are good at soccer. We were not good. And so I think I had some sadness there, and then I started to like build friendships there and I just found a group and sports, and I just had my life kind of going, And then my parents suddenly decided we'd move to Iowa, and I had never thought about Iowa in my life. Didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, did you know where it was? Could you
No.
pointed it?
I could not. Like, maybe I'd read Iowa, but no, I don't think I could have. And so I was really depressed when we came here. And so I think the thing about me too is when I'm sad, I kind of want to be sad. I want to like really feel my sadness because it feels valid to me. And so I just wanted to feel that and be in that space. And so I wanted to reject anybody that was going to try to pull me out of that and be my friend. And
yeah,
I wanted to kind of like go to school. I had friends. I wanted to go to school and be fake and be happy there and come home and be in my room by myself.
Yeah, I definitely like can connect to that of feeling like, you know, I just want to be sad. Don't make me happy. It's
like, leave me alone.
I felt that way before. It's kind of weird because it's like, don't people want to be happy? But then, yeah, there is this weird funk that I think people can get into of like, well, like I am comfortable with my sadness.
Yeah.
And trying to be happy might lead to more pain.
Yeah. There's that, and then there's like being a victim, but also I think if I become happy, then it validates what my parents did to me. Like, then it shows to them that they made the right decision. And then I would have to agree with it. I remember when we were moving, I did not help with anything because I wanted to show them I don't agree. Like, I did not pack up anything. I did not move anything, and I complained about all their plans. I did not help. And so I think there was that too. Like, if I'm happy and I like it here, then they're right, and I believe they're wrong.
So you're passive aggressive.
But very loudly.
Loudly passive aggressive.
Passive aggressive.
I guess maybe just stubborn.
Stubborn would be a word, yes.
Okay. Sorry, let me check my notes. What was I? So how I guess in your, you know, you got saved while you're going to Linmar there. How do you feel like that changed just your outlook on life and how you interacted with people?
After getting saved? I think I was more of a genuine person. I think because when we came, I was so sad. And then Pauline, my wonderful Pauline, came into my life, and we were exactly what we each needed. And she just brought so much joy into my life. And there was another person where I could like give her that too. I brought joy into her life. And that kind of woke up my spirit a little bit too. And so I think my mom shared the gospel with us, and I read it. I was in a spot of feeling gratitude instead of like anger toward God. And before that, you know, I was a Mormon, and I considered myself a Mormon, which is just like an action-oriented relationship. I read the Book of Mormon, I say the prayer, and then that's it. But that whole time I was like afraid of death, afraid of sleeping, having anxiety. I was depressed, and I was going to school and like making friends, being happy. But then I think I got saved, and like that, a lot of that became genuine. My happiness was genuine. And I think I became softer too, because I think throughout my whole life, from childhood and a little bit past too, my being saved, I wanted to be really strong and have the shell, not to bring up the Enneagram, but Enneagram 8s, you know, it's like you have a hard shell and there's marshmallow inside. And I really wanted to protect my marshmallow. And so I had a really, really hard shell, and just, I need to be tough. I need to like cope and just get the things done. And I think when I accepted Christ into my heart, that like created a hole in my hard shell that allowed me to be more vulnerable, that allowed me to be more truthful, that allowed me to be more understanding, because I also would see things black and white, and I still do more, but I think with a lot more grace. But I think that's how my outlook happened. My outlook on the world changed. And honestly, I do think like the world became brighter for me. It was so dull and gloomy and depressing I was just kind of like a zombie going through life, finding little happinesses in food, using that to meet needs. And after that, I didn't need that. I had a bigger purpose in being fake, or at least trying to be strong, not like thinking I was being fake, just wasn't important anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, how many years were there between you getting saved and then you coming to like core at Kirkwood, where you eventually got to New Life?
Yeah. So I graduated 2014 and I was saved at that point. And then we moved into our apartment 2016. We snuck Pauline in. That was awesome. I was like, I'm moving out because I'm scared. You should come with me. And she was like, okay. That's a great thing.
And she wasn't supposed to be moving out, or?
Well, she had no reason to, but I was like, I'm going, you should come with me. Oh, yeah. And she was like, all right, I'll come with you. And then we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with another girl, and Pauline wasn't supposed to be there, but we shared rooms.
The place you were renting from didn't know she was there.
Yeah, didn't know she was there, and we were splitting rent, and we had our 2 beds in our room. Anyways, good times. And then I think around 2016, 2017 was when we were going to Kirkwood, and I started to want God to be a part of all of our life. And the interesting thing was I was backsliding. So I was saved at this point, but Pauline wasn't. And so I had the Holy Spirit in convictions, and she didn't. And she's, more of a party person. I'm not. So we were going to a lot of parties, but it was because at this point we were codependent on each other. So I thought we were the same person and we enjoyed the same things, though I knew I did not like going to parties. We'd go to parties and there'd be music, and I wasn't a drinker or anything, so I wasn't drinking alcohol. So I'd be there sober and just sitting there and not having any fun.
But you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I tell myself I'm having so much fun, I want to leave. And so we were doing a bunch of that, just going to parties and just, I don't know what, it was just such a waste of time. And then going to work, but still being broke and just not being serious about school or anything. And I do remember we were at a party and we were all dancing, and I come around from where everybody was, and my friend was recording, we're all laughing, and I come around and I look at the camera that she's holding, and I see the view of what's happening, except I see myself there, still dancing, except now I'm looking in the camera. And I was the spirit in me was whoa, that cannot happen. That is not, who is that? That's not me. And at that point, we left that party. I told Pauline, this is not what we're doing anymore. We need to find a church. We need to go to a church. And we can't just go to church on Sundays. And mind you, we're going to an African church that we don't like. We're going to an African American church, just random churches, whenever. We're going to a Baptist church here. And I said, we need to find a church. We need to go to the church. And then we need to also have God be a part of our school life too. So we need to find a Bible study group at school as well. I was kind of the leader for our little group. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of was this is what we're doing. And she was kind of all right, that's what we're doing.
So she wasn't mad at you that, you said, you're going to stop going to parties and stuff? Or?
No. The one thing about Pauline is that she's very supportive, and she enjoyed going to parties, and so she still kind of went. These weren't terrible parties. Yeah. But she was always kind of, I don't know, she just kind of let me decide things like that. And they were good ideas. And so she would do it.
Mm. Like you said, you guys were codependent.
Yeah. So I depended on her for us to go meet people and talk. And she was like, you made these decisions. And that's what we're doing now. Mm-hmm. But getting her to come to the core was more of a struggle than I expected. Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so when I decided that, we found a Korean church and we went, and we were sitting there, and the Lord, the pastor, was talking to us. It was so bizarre. And I feel a lot of people say that, but we were looking at each other oh my Like, Jesus told him. And it was being translated, which was interesting. And when they saw us coming, when we told our friends we're going to this Korean church, they were like, well, if they're going to kidnap you, like, you need to text us, call us. Why are you going to Korean church? You know, Koreans are racist, or like Asians are racist or whatever. And we had just seen the movie Get Out, which is about, it's a good movie, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
We're
not sponsored.
Yeah. It's about like this family that kidnaps black people and take their parts and give it to white people, like their eyes or their ears or their brain. And so we were thinking like something like that'll happen to us, which I don't think we have that good of parts. Like Pauline wears glasses and like I'm a college dropout, so I don't think anybody's taking my brain. But we got there and it was amazing. But the Koreans were also very surprised to see us there, like two black girls coming to a Korean church of 15 people. So that was an awesome start to us building more of a relationship with Christ. And then that led to more, and then me trying to find a college ministry at New Life. And so when they did the tables, to welcome people to the clubs, I don't know what that's called, but
yeah, like
that's
the meet and greet thing.
Yeah, that's when I met you when I was trying to find something.
Mm-hmm. So what was the message that the pastor at the Korean church was saying that felt like it went
I don't
straight to your
honestly
heart?
remember, but I think it was something to do with the way we were living our lives at the time and how your life is supposed to be lived for Christ. I think it was like a vague, we were being sinners. When I'm not supposed to be a sinner, I'm saved. Like Pauline at the time didn't have a reason to not be living her life the way she was, but we both understood that was wrong because she had grown up with church too. And so I think it was just like everything that I'm convicted of and I'm convicting Pauline of, because she doesn't have the Spirit this time. And I'm sure she had some convictions that was then being talked about at church by a Korean guy.
And so how long were you guys at the Korean church?
Oh, many
and was it
years.
just the same Korean church, or were there multiple?
There was another one that we tried to join. It just didn't work out. But we were there for many years. We were there until it closed. And then we were forced to completely transfer over to New Life. We did not it wasn't like a choice. like we have decided to leave this church and come to this church. We never made that decision. So
what were some things that were, like, this is more asking in hindsight, what were some of the things about that church that you really liked that you feel like we don't do at New Life, or that you just miss?
Yeah. I think the aspects of the Korean church that I liked, New Life does have. But one of the things that we were really drawn to is being so different from them, but being welcomed so much. And then starting to call the old lady's grandma in Korean. It just felt very family oriented. And it felt like, because we were so small, that we were family and we felt adopted by them and taken care of by them. And I wanted to learn the Korean language too, so that helped to be there. And they fed us wonderful Korean food every Sunday. And so we really enjoyed that. And we genuinely loved the pastor and his family. I think Pastor Kim is one of the most humble men I've ever met in my life. And I think just his heart speaks just in who he is and how he lives his life and his wife. He's so sacrificial, and you could tell that. And the way he prepared his messages and just the love and the respect too that Korean people have in their culture, we really liked that as well. And I think because they're foreigners and we're foreigners, and they're like, they don't have a lot of individuality, and we don't in our culture, I think we were really drawn to that. And I think with New Life, even though New Life is really close, at the time it did feel like you guys were more individuals because you're Americans.
Yeah, we're full-on Americans.
Yeah, and we didn't. I mean, I'm gonna speak for myself. I didn't like that as much. Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the difference is in a person's head that makes them more individualistic or less individualistic? Or maybe it's not even a difference in their head, but like, what is different in America that makes Americans such individualists?
I really think it's because Americans value expediency and value just things should be done quick and
efficiency.
Yeah. And a lot of other cultures don't value that. Mm-hmm. So I think if you're going to do something efficiently and quickly, you need to really do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Like it's harder to like get a group of people to do something, because then you have to like work out a lot of relationship things, and you have to talk and you have to agree. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you have one person leading it, one person with the idea, or one person doing it, it's usually quicker. And I think, and the American dream of, the family, the white picket fence, you get the money and stuff. A lot of that is like not communal. Whereas I feel like for a lot of other countries, their dream would be like you have all your family living with you and you're happy and I don't know, it's just simpler. And I just don't remember, which is probably the detriment to the other countries. They're not as great as America is. I just do not feel the like efficiency value in Liberian culture or of what I've seen of Korean culture.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it has something to do with like how rich Americans are? Like they don't have to have their parents and grandparents live with them.
Yeah.
And so like they can be individual, so they are. And also just the fact that like we kind of came to this giant piece of land and kind of took it over. Yeah. And so like people in the United States have even like in other countries where people are just as affluent or even more, like people probably don't have as much space.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing is space. Because the farther away you are physically from someone, like it's just harder, even with cars and Facebook and phones and whatnot. Do you feel like, so like what I'm really wondering is like, if Liberia suddenly everybody there was just as wealthy as people in the United States, would their culture become more individualistic?
Oh, I think so. I think definitely. I remember when somebody cooks in the like town or village or small area that you're in, you go outside and like call people to come to your house to eat. And then people, and like the kids would never be like, please don't come. There's not enough for you. But the adults really genuinely wanted those people to come. And I remember often eating at other people's houses too. And people at the time, you guys
probably didn't have refrigerators, right?
I do remember seeing a freezer, but it was rare. Yeah, okay. There's not refrigerators. I remember seeing my first flushing toilet right before I came to America. I only saw I wasn't allowed to use it. So
don't touch the golden throne.
Oh, I remember seeing it and it was like, what is this? But I do feel like there's a part of me that was always born to have this kind of life where I flush toilets because I was immediately drawn to luxury. Like, I need to poop inside now and not outside anymore. But I think if the wealth, the space, the desire to be quicker and efficient about things, I think is...
Well, I think that's a really interesting thing that people would just, like, call out. Like, hey, come eat some food. Yeah. Like, we cooked up a bunch. Like, that makes a lot of sense if it's difficult to, get food and then also, like, store leftovers.
That's true.
Because, like, in the United States, you cook some food and you have a little bit too much, you just throw it in the fridge and eat it tomorrow. But, like, if you can use some of that extra food that's going to go bad anyways to get some goodwill with other people, and then they'll invite you the next time they cook food.
Yeah, I don't remember putting things in the fridge. We kind of just ate it. And like other people came and ate it.
I think that's basically what people did before refrigeration. Yeah. Because I've heard of that in like other cultural settings of like people sharing food because they can't preserve it.
Yeah, because we preserved meat by drying it. A lot of the meats we ate was dried in Liberia, or we like ferment it, let it rot, and then you can save it that way. But like cooked food, you wouldn't be able to save it.
Yeah. So coming to New Life, what was that like for you? I had a more specific question. I'm trying to remember what it was. But anyways, what was that like for you?
Yeah. So
what was your first impression?
Yeah. So my first impression of New Life was you.
Yeah.
Meeting you at Core. I thought you were very friendly. And you weren't like a weird Christian white guy. Like, I don't know. I feel like, and because I was used to the Mormon Christian white guys, and like outside of that, I didn't have a ton of experience with. And we were going to a Baptist church where the Christian white guys there were weird. And
what made them weird?
Well, everybody there was weird. Like, we were all wearing the long skirts, and they just were
really, that kind of Baptist?
Yeah, it was like they were really awkward talking to you. They barely would talk to the girls, which I thought was kind of like weird, and just awkward, like super awkward.
They were probably intimidated.
Well, maybe. I was loud. But yeah, they were just very, very awkward. And when you looked at them, they looked shifty. I don't know.
Again, they were probably intimidated.
Like, what do you want? I don't want anything from you, dude. And so when I was walking by, you said, "Hey, do you want $100?" And I was broke.
Yeah.
So then I came and you talked to me and you were fine and you weren't weird. And honestly, I don't even think you were like dressed very nice either.
Probably not.
No, and I think that was a part of the appeal. Like, you were just a normal, like, you weren't uppity.
I wasn't like a Mormon.
No, you weren't a Mormon.
I wasn't dressed up.
You weren't uppity. You just were a young guy passionate about Jesus. And I appreciated that. And I appreciated possibly getting $100.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I saw that and I felt like a little bit of comfort there. Like, you're not weird. You don't seem shifty. And then when I came to the Core, Ben Hunt's was funny and he was I felt comfortable with him, and I didn't feel like it was all so serious. But I really enjoyed that he was teaching theology at the time, like really good theology. There were other people in the Core that I felt like, oh, you're weird. And I'm sure Daniel would not be surprised, so I definitely thought he was weird. He like had his long hair, he was wearing a coat at the time, I don't know, it was like, and he's tall and red. But other than that, but he was nice. I felt like
I think if Daniel showed up in like your Liberian village, we
would think he's like either the devil or God or something.
Probably.
But yeah, it was good, and I saw something there. I saw that people were friends, and the main thing was they were young people that cared about Jesus, and are taking time out of their day to do this. And that was so impressive to me. So I think I like jumped in with both feet. And I think I started standing outside the door trying to get people to come in to the room. I was talking to people and I kept trying to like harass my friends into coming. And I tried to get Pauline to come, and she had her reservations that I won't say.
Okay, you don't have to say them.
Well, she thought you guys were weird, but she had other reservations that I won't say.
Did you think we were a cult?
Well, we did. And I'm not going to say we stopped thinking that, but yeah, my friends definitely did think you guys were a cult. But I remember I was trying to get people in, and we were in the library, and I said, "Aren't you guys coming?" And Pauline was not going to come. And like every time I made a decision for us, like we're going to do this, she usually would do it. You know, it'd be fine. It's not a big deal, but she would rather sit in the library and talk with our friends. And she didn't come, and I was heartbroken. I was disappointed in all of my friends. And I was like, how could you sit here and just talk and have fun when in that room they're talking about Jesus, Christ of Nazareth? You're just sitting here. And I remember saying, "Are you guys going to come with me?" And they said no. And I grabbed my stuff. I make it really obvious when I'm upset, and I just left. And I was so upset. And I don't let it go either, because I talked about it some more. Eventually she came, but probably not because I was trying to bully her into it. But I was really mad. That's not how you get people to Christ.
Yeah, probably not. Excuse me. So when did you first meet Josh? Because Josh was going to.
Oh, my heart.
Josh was going to Mount Mercy, so he wasn't coming to the core Bible study at Kirkwood. So did you meet him after you started coming to New Life on Sunday, or? I guess maybe there was like life group, like Tuesday.
I met him at the core conference for the first time. And I remember I came to that and I saw him, and he looked like you, and then, you know, explained that he's your twin brother or whatever.
And probably like no beard at that time.
No, he did not have a beard. Now he's like committed. Yeah, I didn't spend very much time with him or talk to him. I just talked to the people I knew from core. And then we did a circle. Oh my gosh. We did the circle where Ben was like, you have to look into each other's eyes and see if you have something in your heart for this person, like that you don't like them or you have unresolved conflicts, because he did that for years where he's trying to get people to talk about conflict. And I was like, I just joined this group like 5 minutes ago. I don't know these people. Please don't make me do this. But I had to do it. And I was like, I don't want to. But I especially liked looking into his eyes.
Oh, so you already had a bit of a something with him?
If I would tell the truth, yes. But I'd never, ever admit that elsewhere.
So this brings me, I was asking Lana what questions I should ask you. And she said I should ask you, why did you marry Josh and not me?
I didn't expect that. I don't know.
Elena's question, not mine.
Well, it all started when I first came to America and I sat on the bus. And I was sitting there and the bus door opened and the most beautiful white boy came onto the bus. And that was my first crush. He was blonde and he had blue eyes and pale. Mm-hmm. And I just remember, like, I saw him and I was like, oh my gosh, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
It was probably Josh.
It wasn't Josh, but it was a kid that looked like Josh when he was a kid.
Was that in New York or Illinois?
No, that was in Illinois. Okay. And I was like older. I did not have a crush until then. So I think that's my type of, pale white guy. Mm-hmm. Why did I marry Josh?
I'm a pale white guy.
That's true. You are. And you look similar to him. I think
somewhat, yeah.
I don't know. I just liked him. And I think my crush really developed more when we went to Texas. And he came to ride in the car we were in because he didn't want to be with everybody else in the bigger van. And I played my Korean music, and he knew he liked it, and he said he listened to Korean music. And I played poetry, spoken word, and now he says he just does not have as much respect for spoken word as he used to. But he liked it.
Like specifically the style?
Yes, the style of
or
poetry. Or
like just poetry that's spoken out loud?
The style of poetry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like beat, or what do they call it?
Rhythmic, I don't know.
It's not like rap, but it's like...
It's similar.
It's high energy.
Yeah, he doesn't have as much respect for it anymore. But at the time, he did. He liked it. And I think I played one of my poems, because I think at this time I did have a poem that was recorded. And he liked that as well. And I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. It's because he likes all my stuff. Mm-hmm. And then he played his music, his instrumental Baroque music.
Harpsichord.
Yeah, well, I'm not crazy about the harpsichord, but I liked his music, and I liked the things he had to play too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this guy is smart. I liked that he liked the things I liked. And then he was driving.
So that was like on the
way.
On the way there?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was driving the car, and I really liked that he was, I don't know, I just felt like I trust him with falling asleep. Mm-hmm. And him driving, he seemed very intentional, and I really liked that. And we were having theological discussions, and I liked the way he thought. But then I asked him a question, and he gave me the wrong answer. I was like, wow, this is the stupidest, smartest guy I know.
What was the question?
I think it was one of them was, are you 100% sure that Jesus is God or something? It was a basic question. Or do you have 100% certainty in something? And he said no. And I thought that was a really stupid answer.
It's probably a really honest, intellectually honest answer.
Yeah, and I did not like that, and I still don't. But I was like, oh, he's really dumb. And I kind of got over it then. I don't know how this leads to why I liked Josh more, but...
it was just meant to be. You guys were soulmates. I think this is definite proof for soulmates.
Why?
Well, because people do scientific studies on twins. Mm-hmm. If twins are separated at birth or something.
Yeah.
They see like how much nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're presented with two equal individuals and you choose one over the other, it's probably soulmate.
Well, but you guys are so different too. Like, I really like your personality and I like you as a person, but I don't think I could be married to you.
Yeah.
I think Elena could be married to you, you know?
Well, she's trying.
So I think that's some of it. Like, when Elena tells me, you know, about the things you guys are doing or, you know, whatever, or what I see of your relationship, my response is usually, oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's great. That's so fun. But I'm like, yeah, it's just not for me.
On the inside, you're like, he's even dumber than Josh.
No, I don't think that. I just think, oh, that's not for me.
All right, well, that's a pretty good answer, I feel like. Also, I didn't ask you to marry me.
That probably helped.
I feel like maybe if I had asked you, maybe you would have married me.
No, I was praying specifically for Josh to marry me, not a guy.
Well, you could have gotten confused.
I could have. Shoot! Like on our wedding day, I got the wrong one. Darn.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty awesome. I never knew, like, I guess I didn't think specifically about that car ride to Texas. That's probably where it started for Josh, too.
He would never admit that. Well, I don't believe
it. Doesn't
him.
even matter, like, what he thinks. Like,
yeah, I don't think it matters what he thinks either.
We're talking, like, subconsciously. Like, if that didn't happen and, like, he hadn't shared that experience with you.
Yeah.
Like, maybe he wouldn't have seen you as, like, an option.
Okay, so at the core friends I met him, your parents came as well. Your dad was going to do a teaching, and that was the teaching where he said, burn your Bibles. And I was like...
That was a good
but I talked to your mom, and she asked me, like, oh, your name, and I'm just chatting with her, and she asked me about my dreams and my goals and what I'm doing, and I tell her, and I don't mention marriage or children, and she goes, but don't you want to be married and have kids? And I think that that's so funny, because then I married her son and have his kids. But then, like, maybe a couple years or a year later, Josh comes to our house to cook a meal for Core, and he, like, texts me if I'm going to be home so I can unlock the door for him. I get there after he's gotten there, like, I'm late. I let him in, and he's cooking. But I really think he was telling me about his job, and, like, he makes a lot of money. Like, how smart he is. He was just going on about, like really selling himself. He'll never admit that, but he was really selling himself. So I really think, like, at that point, at least he likes me, but he'd be like, oh, you loved me first, and I'm just kind of along.
Does he hold that over your head?
He tries.
Doesn't work. I think he likes you.
I think he likes me now, yeah. At least. I hope.
Okay, sorry. What was I gonna ask about next? Okay, so you had this period of your relationship with God where you were just starting to realize, like, okay, this really needs to apply to my whole life, and I really need to get involved with other Christians. And eventually that led you to being at New Life. How do you feel like your relationship with God has grown since coming to New Life?
I think it's grown significantly. I think the thing that's grown my relationship the most is Renew. Because when I was in the girls' house, I was really struggling with, like, my family stuff and my dad situation. And there came to be a time where I was, like, always on the verge of tears, like, always about to cry. And I just was never letting it happen. And then I started getting regular Renew from Amy Jo, who is a very close friend of mine now. At least I would consider her to be. And we just she amazingly committed several evenings to me, just giving me her time. And just working through all this stuff with me. And then Ben Gross as well. Like, I hang out with both of them. And they just poured into my life so much. And for the first time, I could, like, tell her all this stuff that I would never tell other people, because I didn't want my parents to look bad, or my dad, or for someone to look on my family badly, or me. And I could just tell the truth and tell her stuff and she'd be like, oh, that's messed up. Like, that's not right. And then I could think about it and say, oh, yeah, that's not right. And then I could cry about it too and like feel pain about it and really start to chip away at that like hard exterior I was making to let all the pain out.
Yeah, I think that's like really important to have someone that you can like tell anything to. And like a lot of people don't have that. And I think there's just something about that makes someone feel isolated. And like they're the only one that this has ever happened to. Or like they're the only one that feels this certain way. And just being like, even if the person you're talking to has like never experienced this or whatever, I think just being able to say that, and then they can say like, yeah, that like they can at least give some sort of outside take on it.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing for me was that I could tell the truth and the person doesn't run away. Because I was thinking I'd tell the truth. So the difference between like my relationship with Amy at the time, with her PCing me, my relationship with Pauline at the time, because I could tell her that stuff, but we were in kind of a similar situation. Like we were both dealing with a toxic African culture. Not all of it's toxic, obviously, but we were both growing up in a toxic culture and home life. And so that's kind of what we both know. So she couldn't really like, she could comfort and like sit, you know, cry with me or whatever, but she couldn't give me more than that. And she wasn't saved at the time. So, wait, where was she? No, I think, when did she get baptized? I don't know. I know she had gotten baptized before she was saved. Anyways, but she didn't have very much to give in that respect of, you know, I have all these daddy issues, and I don't think at the time she really had dad. It was mostly mommy issues that she had. It was just so different and also similar that she couldn't help. But whereas I could, and she had her own issues too, like lots of it. Both of us had lots of it. And I could go to Amy, so I had one person that I could be honest with, and they wouldn't run away. And that was Pauline. But then somebody that is so different than me, has a different, you know, upbringing, a different relationship with God, looks different than me, in a different culture. I could tell this person that, and they don't run away either. And that was really big for me. And then not only that, but she didn't expect me to be strong. She didn't expect me to like take it all on and be okay and to cope and to go through life. She didn't expect any of that from me. She treated me like I was soft, like I was an egg, she treated me gently. And I don't think that was the treatment I was really receiving from anyone except Pauline at the time, from the world. I was expected to be strong, and I was expected to do all this stuff, and she just didn't have those expectations of me. And I think that really helped.
Yeah, that is really great.
To go back
sure.
to like when me and Josh, you know, I would like to tell the story of how he asked me out, because you like skipped that, and it was like the best part.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Unless you were going to go back to that.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so I got to tell you kind of what was happening at the time. For most of my life, my friends actually thought I was gay, because I never really talked about boys, didn't really care about boys. I just was living my life, and like now I was passionate about one boy, Jesus. And like at Kirkwood, there was a guy who was like, oh, like I guess I could be interested in this guy. He's okay. You know, we spent some time together. He was not really like passionate about God like I was. I was having to teach him about God, and I did not like that. And he was doing this math course, and he was doing the same math course for so long. And I was very impatient with that. I did not like that he was doing the same math course for so long. And I would like text him, we'd talk, and he'd be like, oh, I don't feel like I'm not going to work today. And that was a big deal for me. Like, you're just not going to go to work because you don't want to? I did not like that. And then he liked mansions a lot. That was a deal breaker for me as well.
He liked mansions?
Yeah, he likes big houses.
Okay.
I did not like that he likes big houses. I felt like it said something about he was a nice guy, and he was East African, which like they're the better looking people of the Africa. I'm gonna say that, but I felt like it said something about his character, that he liked mansions and that he was doing the same math course for a long time, and that he would just not feel like going to work and then not go to work. I know you did some of that sometimes. Maybe I saw some of that, and that's one of the reasons I didn't marry you. But those were real deal breakers for me. So after that, like, almost situation, I kind of was like, I moved on from guys. Just wasn't working out.
Jesus was your boyfriend.
Yeah, Jesus. Oh, I don't want to say that. I was passionate about Jesus again. And then there came to be a time again in my life where I was like, well, now I like want to get married and I like a boy. So that, like, what do you do there? And so I decided the boy was Josh, and I'm going to start praying that Josh will ask me out and marry me. And I wasn't doing anything extra to like try to get this going. I just got Jeremiah to pray with me, because I was like, Jeremiah, we need to pray that a guy marries me, because then I can take care of you and you can live with us and he'll like take care of us. Like, it'll be me and you. This guy will be great, and then he can be a brother to you. And so Jeremiah starts praying. I make him pray all the time. I'm praying. Jeremiah's thinking we're praying for a black guy. I'm praying specifically for a white guy. So we weren't communicating very well. And I would be thinking about Josh, and I hated that. I did not like thinking about Josh very much. I did not like going places and trying to find him. That was so inconvenient for my life. I didn't like coming to core and like being excited to see him. I hated that. So it just felt like the only thing to do was to like date him and marry him.
So you did not like the experience of having a crush.
I did not like it. I did not like it at all. Because then the person can kind of control you. You want to do things they like. You want to be around them. You change course because of them. You want to be in the same room with them. That's really inconvenient. And I don't want to do that for any person. I want people to do that for me, but I don't do that for them. So because I was doing all that, it just felt like I was putting a lot in this relationship that isn't real.
Yeah.
And so I think I sent one text to him. We had talked here now and then, and I had challenged him on a Bible verse, and he stayed after core one day to like argue about it with me. And that's one of my love languages. I love to argue, and he argued with me and he won. He didn't back down.
Do you remember what the Bible verse was?
Yes. It was I think it was 2 Samuel, whether the witch of Endor actually brought up Samuel or not.
What was the conclusion?
That she did. And my reasoning for thinking she didn't was because how can a witch have a power over like the anointed of the Lord and bring someone that is in the, I don't know, Abraham's bosom? I think that's what they call it. Sheol. How can she have that power to bring him back? And I had watched some YouTube videos, and I was really studying that passage, and somebody had said that he gave some not completely correct information, and it was just reading into it was all incorrect. But Josh and I we read the passage together, we talked about it, went back and forth for a couple hours. And at the end of it, I did give in, and I said, okay, yeah, you're right. Which usually, even if I'm wrong, I'm going to be like, I don't know. So that was impressive. And
what a romantic Bible passage, too.
Yeah, if the witch was... The witch did it. And then I sent him one text once after a teaching. I said, you did a good job. Something like that. That's all I did to try to get Josh to marry me. I didn't do anything else. And then I was in the kitchen.
Well, I think your character qualities, like the fact that you had quality character, I think that you did that too.
Oh, okay.
I think
I wasn't a bad person.
And you love Jesus. I think that was what got him. So
yeah, well, yeah, that was effortless. And so I did not want to come to core the one Tuesday he was teaching, because I was not about to actually sit and have to look at him.
Yeah.
So I was not going to show up. But you were supposed to cook that Tuesday. You'd signed up. And so I was like, hey, you remember you're supposed to cook? And he said, I don't remember that. But why don't you go ahead and get the groceries and bring them to church for me, and then I'll come and cook it. And I was like, okay.
I gotcha.
So I went grocery shopping for you. and brought them to the church. And I waited and you did not come. And I was like, I'm going to start cooking this meal. So I start cooking the meal and Josh comes in to like practice. So like I hear someone come in, I didn't see him. And then he like stood at the window right there as I'm like cooking away. And then he goes, and it scares me. And I turn around and he said, is there anything I can help you with? Kind of like that. And I said,
kind of shifty like those.
Yeah, weird white Christian guys. So I said, yeah, you could set up like the tables and chairs and stuff. And I was like, oh, how weird. And so I go back to cooking and then he comes back in and he's standing in the kitchen now. And then he says something and I'm pulling something out of the kitchen, the oven. And I was like, he scared me again. And he was like, can I talk to you for a minute? And I said, sure. And at the time, we were kind of dealing with a similar situation with somebody that I was doing Renew with. And so in my head, I was like, oh, this guy's about to ask me out. Or he's going to try to like talk to me about this situation. So I said, sure.
Wait, you were dealing with?
So you guys were having relational problems with somebody that I was renewing.
Oh, okay. So it was, okay. So you thought he might want to talk to you.
About that.
See, that's funny because when I asked Elena out, she also, she had like, up until the moment that the words came out of my mouth, she had zero idea that I was about to ask her out. She thought I was talking to her about
something else.
Some relational thing in the corner. Something.
That's what I thought it was.
But.
And then he said, Jerra, I think I want to marry you. Would you consider dating me? And I really liked his verbiage, like his phrasing, because it was intentional. There was a plan. We will get married. I'm sure I want to do that.
Uh-huh.
But we need to try it out, so we should date.
Yeah.
And so I liked that he was just so strong, and because it's scary. It's scary to talk to me too. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciated the way he said it, and it was so bold. Because like any girl would say, "You're no." Like what? No, what? Like you want to get married? But I really appreciated that it was so weird too. Like that's a weird way to ask someone out.
Yeah, we all thought he was kind of crazy.
Usually you say like, you're really pretty. Do you want to get dinner? He didn't say that. It was like, I really liked that there was a plan and that it was serious. And so I said, can I think about it? And he said yes. And
but
then
you'd already decided.
Oh yeah, I was gonna date him. But at the time, a lot of girls had a crush on Josh, and so I needed to like tell people, tell them, I'm sorry, it's me, I won. He hates you. So I said I'll think about it, and he said okay, and then he stood there looking at me, and I was okay. And so we're just standing there looking at each other. Mm-hmm. He's looking at me, and I'm like, I want to run away. I want to die. I don't want to be here anymore. And then Ash brought her kids in because I was going to watch them for her. And I'd never been so happy to see Ash's children at the time because it broke the awkward stare off. And then Josh went into his dad's office, and I had the kids. And
did I ever show up?
Really late, Joseph. Really late.
See, sometimes God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, you're
I'm sure there was something God orchestrated to keep me from being able to be there.
He made you who you are.
It wasn't just my lack of integrity or anything like that.
You have integrity, just lack of being responsible at the time. But it was really funny. Josh went into his dad's office, and then, oh my gosh. I don't know if you know this, but after I talked to him, like Ash's kids come in, Kurt Jurgensmeyer comes in. I've not said 2 words to Kurt Jurgensmeyer. I've never talked to him. He comes into him, he goes, I don't know why he did that. I don't know why he did it like that. I'm so sorry. I don't know. We told him not to do that. I don't know. And then he touches my shoulder, and I'm thinking, why are you touching me? He's touching my shoulder, and he goes, I'm sorry. I don't know why he did that. You don't have to say yes. Me and Brenda, we love you. We do. And he's looking in my soul. We love you so much. We really do. We like you. And nothing's going to change if you say no. You can say, like, he's like convincing me to say no. You can say no. If you don't, it's okay. And you can think about it. You don't have to give him an answer now. I know it sounded rushed. You don't have to say anything right now. We just love you. And I just want you to know that. I don't know why he did that. I really don't. And he's like shaking his head. And I'm like, like your dad, you sent your dad to talk to me. And then Kurt leaves. And then Ben comes in, Ben Hunt, and he's like, like he's not saying anything, but he's like looking at me and smiling, and I'm like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And then somehow Leah knew, and she's like,
everyone knew apparently.
I guess
it just kept getting passed along the
I
line.
guess, and I just lied and said, I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing happened. And then Leah goes, I think he's gonna do it afterwards, and I'm like, I don't know. But it was a really awkward tour. It was so awkward because then I have to sit there and watch him teach. It was a good teaching. And then he came up to me and said the meal was really good. And I was like, thanks. This is terrible. This is all so awkward.
Do you remember what you cooked?
Oh, I think it was, I don't remember what it was, actually. Yeah, I don't remember what it was. Something meat. Mm-hmm. Something with meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did eventually. The story ends with, like I said, yes, and we went and told your parents, and your mom goes, you guys don't seem like you're dating, you seem like business partners. I was like, yeah, I get that vibe too.
Was it like the next week that we went to go to the Boundary Waters? Like Josh and I?
Yeah, and so I had already talked to all the girls that had crushes on Josh, and so I started texting him and Marcoing him, and it was like honestly one of my favorite parts of our relationship because we weren't dating, but we were talking so much, and it was very exciting.
Yeah, that's all. He just stared at his phone the entire drive.
Yeah.
Like 8-hour drive.
He was texting me pictures, and we were texting, and we were Marcoing, and then he goes, eventually after like several days of doing this, he goes, we're not dating yet, so if like you want to say yes, but if you're not going to say yes, then we can't be texting. And then I did not respond to that message because that was too much.
Why didn't you just respond with yes?
Well, because it's text message. Okay. So I waited till you guys got back and like we helped you move into your new guy's house. And I had gotten him a key chain ring, something that had a verse from Romans, because at the time that was his favorite book of the Bible. I'd asked Nathan Hunt and I picked a really good verse. And some of my friends were joking that I should pick a verse from Songs of Solomon and put it on there and make it really awkward. But I did not.
That would have been great.
That would have been funny. Too soon though. So I just picked a random nice verse from Romans and engraved it with the dates that we were going to meet for us to talk about if we were going to date. So it was like 7/27/2019.
Yeah, so that's like what like a business partner would do,
Yeah, like a gift to say, yes, I will sign your contract.
Yeah.
And we can do this. So then I gave him that, and it was like a birthday gift, because his birthday had just come, or was that day or something.
Yeah, I think our birthday was probably while we were in Minnesota.
Yeah. So I gave him the gift, and I gave him a card.
Does he still have the keychain?
He does. It broke. It's not on his key anymore, but it is. I did go through a lot of trouble to get that engraved, but he does still have it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why did I tell that story?
Because you really wanted to.
I did.
It's a great story, though.
It is.
I have, like, a vague memory of that night at Core. I don't remember the whole, like, me not showing up to cook food.
That's
stuff.
like a big part of the story.
It's a big part of the story, but I don't remember it. But I do remember... I mean, obviously, I remember, like, leading up to that, I think Josh probably told me that he was going to ask you out. But then I also, like, have a vague memory of being there and him walking out of the kitchen. But I don't know if that was, like, when he asked you out, if that was just, like, I knew he'd asked you out and he was walking around. And I don't remember. I have a vague memory of that night.
You had other things going on, Joseph.
I had a lot of other things.
It wasn't your life. It's not your problem. But our dating relationship was really awesome. I very much enjoyed it. And then we got married in 2020. And that was crazy. Nobody, like, you were there. You were the sound guy and the best man. That was wonderful. I'm telling all this to get to where I am now.
Yeah.
And...
Well, let me ask you real quick.
Yeah.
How if there's anybody listening to this that's a little bit younger, or not necessarily younger, but how do you have a good intentional dating experience? Like that, like obviously Josh started it out by saying like, hey, this is going towards marriage. And that's like a big thing that a lot of people are missing is they don't start with that. Mm-hmm. But even like in the process of it, what do you feel like?
Like when you're already dating or before?
Yeah, if you're dating, and how do you do it in a healthy way?
Yeah, I think a big part on my end was I feel like a lot of girls might think like this is the guy, and if I pass him up, like I won't get married, or I have to make this work out, or like a lot of fear. But I've never thought like I won't get married or I won't find a guy. Like I'm not gonna say like I felt like, well, if this ends, it's fine. Like it just didn't feel like a lot of pressure on the relationship to make it work. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't fearful of if I didn't like something, I was like more than willing to be like, this isn't working out for me, and moving on. And so I think that allowed me to be able to have a like more effortless relationship with Josh, because I wasn't putting any pressure on him to do something or to be something for me. I just kind of let him be how he was, and I was how I was. And then we kind of said, yeah, I like this about you, which I was really surprised. We went on a hike and I could not breathe. I didn't like it, and I didn't want to drink the park water. And I made him go and like buy me water from the gas station. And after that day, I was like, yeah, this is definitely over. But then he came back. So I think it was not putting a lot of pressure on the relationship. And whenever like I had a problem with something, I voiced it and I said like, hey, I would like us to do this, or I would like more of this. And he did the same with me as well. I feel like we kind of, because he had said, I want to marry you, just that intentionality was, if Josh never changed, am I willing to like marry him and be married to him as he is like this forever? And I think that being in my head every time we spent time together allowed me to not try to force him into being something, or me forcing myself into being something. And then also knowing and being confident that like, this is not the only guy that's going to like me in my life. Like there will be other guys if this doesn't work out. It's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. So I would say that's one thing I would recommend, or at least I remember of myself. But also, I was in it with both feet still too. I was in it with both feet, but I was aware I could jump out. Like I'm here, I'm gonna date him. I'm gonna think about marriage. I'm gonna think about if I accept him for how he is, if he never changed, grew, never did anything else. But also, if I'm like,
he's not getting any taller. Did you know that?
Yeah, he's not. I didn't expect him to. Yeah, and I was fine with all of it. And, but I think young ladies need to recognize that what the Lord has for you, He has for you, and it's not up to you. Like the big things in your life is not up to you. Like you won't ruin it. And you are awesome, and you're beautiful, and as you grow in your relationship with God, and you're vulnerable and open with the things that are in you and your problems, I think then when you invite somebody else into your life, just having and maintaining that relationship will be a lot easier.
Thank you. I think I'm beautiful too.
Yeah, you are, Joseph.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I think having that dating relationship experience, and kind of from the start, like the week before we got married, we had a lot of problems. Like my dad was stuck in Liberia, so he couldn't come to our wedding. And that whole week I cried. Like I was crying up until we got married. And Josh was like, it's like, I know you're having a hard time, but like, it's not really exciting for you to be crying when you're going to marry me. And so I stopped crying, but I was crying and crying the whole week. And so that was like a hard time. And then we got married. We couldn't invite all of our friends, and I was really sad about that. So that it felt like there was a lot of adversity like up front, but none of it was like with us, like our relationship.
Yeah, and specifically, you couldn't invite all your friends because it was during COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's right. And then when we got married and we moved into our apartment, like right off the bat, like we had a miscarriage. And that was a really difficult time. It just felt like bad things were happening a lot to us, but it was never like with us. Yeah. And I think that, I don't know, I think that's really informed a lot of the things that your original question or things I'm passionate about and doing. I think it's informed where my relationship is with Josh now. And I think it's informed the kind of person I am and want to be. Is like a lot of those bad things like that happened earlier on are informing like now. So I'm doing tallow. And am I going on? Do you want to?
No, this is great.
Okay. I'm doing tallow, and it's to raise money for prostitutes and orphans, mostly the orphans.
And probably women who are trying to get out of prostitution.
Yeah, it's not to like support prostitution. It's for women getting out of prostitution, but mostly for their children. We went to India and Nepal, and Josh took me there, which was really nice. He just makes a lot of my dreams come true. And we spent a lot of time with the orphans there, and I'm really passionate about children. I love children very much. And seeing the kids there, like I fell in love with them and I want to help them. So I'm doing tallow to raise money for them. And Josh providing for me, taking care of me, and creating a space to where I can do the things I want. Which was one thing I wanted, like when I get married, I want a guy that like will let me do the things I want. And he definitely does. And I'm very passionate about that, like taking care of children. And I'm really passionate about my friends and relationships, and being there for my friends and supporting them. And I've gotten the opportunity to do that a lot. So recently, Pauline had a miscarriage, and I don't know. I bring the sad stuff up. I do it to other people, and then I start crying. And
well, I'll probably cut this out of the podcast anyways, because I don't want Pauline to listen to it and then.
Well, no, it'll be good for her.
Okay.
It'll be fine. She would not mind. But, anyways, I think me having the miscarriages earlier on, and since then I have friends who've had miscarriages either before or I did or now. It's really made me such a more compassionate person for people who are for pregnant women, loving them and having understanding the value of life, and children and babies. Josh volunteers at Bridgehaven, and we pray for pregnant mothers and children, and supporting children, being there for children, and in supporting mothers who have children and single moms too. I'm always offering babysitting for moms that need that kind of help. But I think too, unfortunately, it's happened to my best friend, but I think the Lord, having that happen to me has made me be able to have the compassion that I need to for her and to support her in just such a terrible situation that she's in, that really shouldn't happen to anyone, but I feel especially Pauline. And at the time when we had our miscarriage, it's just I didn't know a lot of people who did, and I didn't really have the concept of babies dying too. And I definitely didn't think it would happen to me, and it just seemed kind of purposeless at the time. And my personality is definitely one to I'm gonna be sad about it. I'm gonna front load all the sadness and just be sad for a long time, and then I'll be able to get over it. And blame God. That's part of my process. I blame God, but it doesn't make me run away from him or be mad at him or anything. But I see now, unfortunately, that because I walked that very unfortunate thing, I've been able to love and walk alongside other people who have had that experience, unfortunately. And I think that was the biggest thing in my life that's really shaped the person I am. I've never been so soft, so vulnerable in my life. And I've never, I've had horrible things happen in my life, very traumatic things. I saw my stepmom grab a knife and try to kill my dad. That was traumatic. I would hide in the closet. I've been starving. I've been lost. just my birth mom died of breast cancer when I was 16, like terrible things. And like by far that was like the worst thing, losing a baby, that had happened to me in my whole entire life. And so that definitely, like every other part of the hard shell that I had, like that wrecked all of it. And I think because of that, I've become just more compassionate than I could, and understanding and loving than I ever possibly could. And I think that has informed who I am and how I am now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard but good. Yeah.
Yeah. It is. And it's amazing that God uses pain, and just he's not afraid to use things that are permanent, like at least that seem permanent on this earth. Because you like lose a baby, and then the rest of the babies you have, you're scared you're gonna lose them too. And so it just kind of, it felt like to me it put a stain on like having babies and children like forever, but it's not a stain anymore. And God washes those things away. And then to have it happen twice, like that really is, you know, terrible and makes you struggle with fear. But God is like, it proved to me that God really loves me, because he was willing to use something that was so painful and felt so permanent, because he wanted me, he wanted all of me, and he wanted me to grow into the woman that he knew I would be and I could be. And I think that's like, was the only thing that would really do it. So,
Yeah.
it's been enough tears.
Well, I don't know a better way to end this podcast.
A happier note.
A happier note. Yeah. I don't know where to go from that though.
Well, let's see. Well, we're having this baby. I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty passionate about raising children and doing it right to the best of my abilities.
What are you having, boy or girl?
I'm not telling. I know you're gonna try to trick me.
Yeah, Elena told me I had to try and trick you and just reveal it. But you see, this, so listen to this logic here. So we're recording this podcast right now.
Yeah.
And I believe your plan is that you're going to tell the family this Sunday.
That's true.
But this podcast episode will not be out for like another multiple weeks.
That's true.
So by that point in time,
everybody will know.
Everybody will know anyways.
Yeah.
So you can
but then you'll
me.
know now.
Well, Nathan will know now.
So yeah, Nathan will know. A bunch of When we were gonna find out like a week before, like a lot of people were like, "You're gonna keep a secret that long, you, Jerra?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." So I've got to prove those people wrong.
Okay, so you have to prove those people, but they'll never know.
I'll know. I'll know. But yes, very passionate about raising children and doing it right and like figuring it out. But Gwen has been such a different kind of child. Like, she's super wonderful and super easy in a lot of aspects, but she's so complex too, because she's like a human. And I've definitely found myself like slipping in a lot of the areas where I was like, this is definitely right. This is definitely the way. And I'm not doing those things now. So now we're regrouping, trying to find things like we actually really care about that we can sustain. And then thinking about like, you know, this baby and the rest of our kids and how we want to raise them and how we want them to be. And then trying to still blend the like African culture and American culture in them too. Because as of now, Gwen is definitely more American than she is African.
Yeah.
And Josh does not want that. He definitely wants her to be a little bit more African. And so we're trying to figure out how to like
just get some termites.
Termites. I did commit to like cooking African food every Saturday, and she's been asking for fufu, which is Liberian, and other African cultures eat that too. But that's like the most African thing about her is that she wants fufu. And I'm always like, I don't have that, but I should.
Well, thank you so much for, just sharing your life and, sharing your deep feelings with everybody.
Yeah, I do it to other people, but I'm willing to do it too.
Yeah,
okay, I'm willing to ditch it, and I'm willing to take it. So,
dish it, you mean? Ditch
I'm willing to dish it.
Dish it. There you go.
English is not my first language.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great life.